Today we'll be changing the air oil separator on my 986 Boxster. As you can see, there's a lot of oil up here, in here, caked all over the engine, and I think the air oil separator is the culprit. Inside the intake, there's basically a pool of oil, and I believe that's why there's oil all over this tube as well. And if you look down through the engine bay, you can find pools of oil as well. So, to replace this guy, you take off the top hose. Then there are two bolts from the top. One of them is right there and one on the other side. And then we have a couple connections underneath. When you do this job, you don't have to have the throttle body off. I had the throttle body off as I thought the oil fill tube was the source of my leaks. But after seeing all the oil in the intake, I turned my attention towards the air oil separator. Here's a look at the replacement part. So it sits in the engine like this. That's the bolt we looked at. And then there's another bolt over on that side. So we took off this top connection already. And then we have two or three connections down below. So we got this one. And we'll see if this connects to anything. So what I'm going to do is take out these two bolts, see if I can lift this out enough to get access to this top clip. And then I'll go underneath the car, take off the wheel, and see what it looks like under here. Here's a look at those two top bolts. There's one right here and the other right there. So we'll take those two out and then we'll try to get this connection. You can see the hose going from the side into the air oil separator. We'll try to get that connection loose and then we'll go underneath the car and get the remaining connections. Okay, I'm underneath the car. I have the wheel off and we're able to see the bottom of the air oil separator. Gotta zoom in here. So it's tough to see, but we have a hose clamp on the bottom of the air oil separator. So we'll be taking that off next and then reaching in and disconnecting that tube. I have the old air oil separator on the bench here. This is a new one. So there's only one connection on the bottom, 3 connections total, we'll say. So 2 hose connections that you squeeze the sides of that hose on these ones, and one on the bottom with a hose clamp that you take a flathead to. And then take a flathead and push the hose off. This part is pressed into the block and it's held down by 2 screws. Interesting enough, one of my screws was loose, so I'm going to have to go check if that where it threads in is stripped. But hopefully it's not, it was just loose, and this clamp was pretty loose as well. So maybe this was replaced in the past and they didn't tighten everything down. That could be the source of some of my oil leaks, as the oil could be coming out of here and pouring down the side of the engine. All right, so now it's time to put the new one in place. I'm going to get it into position, connect the side hose first, then push it down into the block, get this seated, and then put the screws in, tighten it down, then be able to go from the bottom and push this hose up. I want to get these screws in and have it clamped down so that when I'm putting pressure on the hose to get it over this, I'm not pushing this out of the way. So after we get that done and the clamp on, then we'll go back up top, get this connected. Before you install the new unit, take a little bit of oil and put it on this O-ring to prevent it from hanging up when you're pushing this down into the block. When you're getting the screws back in place, a magnet like this will be your friend. So put the screw on the magnet and then drop it down into the slot and slide the magnet off. So this one, the one on this side I was able to do by reaching around this pipe by hand, but the one in the back I had to use the magnet, and I dropped the screw in and then swipe the magnet off. Have the bottom hose on with the clamp. Thankfully when I put the air oil separator in place, it actually pushed itself right into that hose. So I just had to go under there and tighten that clamp. It was a bit tricky to hold the clamp in place and tighten it down at the same time. So I used a short screwdriver and just little by little got it tightened down. Up top we have the side hose connected and the 2 bolts tightened down. Thankfully, neither of those were stripped. I was worried about them being stripped because one was loose, but that was fine. Hose connected just fine. And now we can put the throttle body back on and connect the remaining tubes. Another thing I just noticed was that this hose was loose. I pushed it back on, but it has no hose clamp or anything on it. So I believe I have a hose clamp that will work, but let me know in the comments what this is and what issues this could have caused by coming loose. Oh man, I'm really disappointed. I had this light up here and it fell off and it left some scuffs on the side. Let's see if I can show you guys what it did. Even a little dent right there and some scuffs. Thankfully, I think I can get these out with the polisher. I'm going to be going over the entire car with the polisher and then ceramic coating it. This little dent's very unfortunate, and these scuffs, but these will likely come out. Job's complete. The car's running great. No check engine light. So hopefully that was the source of the oil leaks. We'll see over time. I'll keep looking under the engine and seeing if any new oil leaks pop up, but I'm pretty hopeful that was the issue.